So we are not going live today. We will only do the recording on cloud, and later on people can watch this video on YouTube. Good evening.
You are only recording.
Yeah. I welcome you all to this Friday session of Indian section. And today we have this topic of Masters of the Wisdom, 1881 to 1888, part 1. So we will have different parts, most likely 2 or 3 parts of this topic. And we will do this by Brother B. Tendulkar. All of you know him. We all have listened to him earlier also. As a formality, I should be introducing in brief. We all know that he comes from Pune. He's a member of Pune Lodge of Theosophical Society for over 40 years now. He's a national speaker of the Indian section Theosophical Society Varanasi. And he has visited many lodges, federations for propagating theosophy. Through his lectures, he has conducted workshops, study camps all over India. He is the ex-secretary of Maharashtra Theosophical Federation and the ex-president of Pune Lodge. He also did editing of the Theosophical bi-monthly Jagriti Vishwabandhutva. As a professional, he has been in the government and private organizations and NGOs as well in various responsible capacities. And as well as he's a visiting faculty and project guide of a couple of management institutes. So here we are with our wonderful speaker who speaks very lucidly and very fluently and explains things pretty well. So over to you, sir. You may start with the universal prayer and give your talk if you wish to. So I'm doing the prayer and we'll start.
Okay.
O hidden life, vibrant in every atom. O hidden light, shining in every creature. O hidden love, embracing all in oneness. May each who feels himself as one with thee know he is also one with every other. Come back. Over to you, Brother Tendulkar, on the topic Masters and the Wisdom, part 1.
Thank you, Subrelina. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. You can continue.
Yeah. Thank you for your kind introduction. I at the outset thank Brother Pradeep Mahapatraji, the coordinator on behalf of Indian section of these study classes on Master's letters, the source of theosophical wisdom. Today, I will be covering letters from the Masters of the Wisdom, first series. They are grouped under various subheads. Earlier once I have covered one subsection, letter number 1 to 5. Subtopic was the Theosophical Society and its work. Today I am covering the fourth subsection, letter number 16 to 29. This subsection deals with letters of personal counsel. So here we have number of letters, about 14 in number. And we will be dealing with 3 to 4 letters today. The first letter, letter number 16, we will begin. This letter is from Master K.H. to Colonel H.S. Olcott. He received this letter during his visit to Lahore. He was in his night camp at Maidan, Lahore. He has given a good account of this meeting in old diary leaves. So let us begin with the letter. Master says, I come to you not alone of my own accord and wish, but also by order of the Mahachohan, to whose insight the future lies like an open page. He further adds, at New York, you demanded of M, that is Master M, an objective proof that his visit to you was not a Maya, and he gave it. All of you are quite well aware of this incident when Colonel Olcott was visited in person by Master M. And at that time, Colonel Olcott was really suspicious because he was all the time accepting things only with concrete proof. So he wanted to make sure that it was a visit by the Master. And so at that time, Master had left a proof that was the turban which he was using, which was later on exhibited in the Museum of Adar. So here Master K.H. is referring to that incident. And he's saying, I am leaving a proof here unasked, without your asking. Probably he wanted to remove any doubt in the mind of Colonel Olcott. So that was made sure that it was the physical presence of Master K.H. at Lahore. He had come from Tibet to Kashmir and at the invitation of Maharaja of Kashmir. And from there at Lahore, he met Colonel Olcott. He further says, I give you the present one, though I pass out of your sight, this note will be to you the reminder of our conference. So it remains as a reminder also, as well as proof or evidence. I now go to young Mr. Brown to try his intuitiveness. Tomorrow night, when the camp is quiet and the worst of the emanations from your audience have passed away, I shall visit you again for a longer conversation, as you must be forewarned against certain things in the future. So here, Master is giving advance intimation or idea to prepare Colonel Olcott and to make him aware of the purpose of his visit. The person referred to as young Mr. Brown is a person from America And he was there with Colonel Olcott at that time. And he was present there. He was a young theosophist. And Meister wanted to really find out the level of intuitiveness of Mr. Brown. This is one of the tasks in personal counseling of the would-be theosophist. It's an occult art to bring to the surface the tendencies or certain kind of prejudices, biases hidden within. And from appearance, you may not be able to make them out. So here we get an indication how these adepts, perfected men, use their occult powers to understand the real man, not just personality, but the individuality. And that is done at a time when there are no disturbances, when everything is calm and quiet. There are no vibrations which will disturb the inner peace. And therefore, that time was chosen when the emanations from the audience would no longer be there. I shall visit you again for a longer conversation, as you must be forewarned against certain things in the future. This is how the masters guide and enable the leaders of the Theosophical Society to anticipate certain things in future, the probable difficulties, risks involved, the chances of success or failure, so that one is rightly prepared to face the situation. Fear not and doubt not. As you have feared and doubted at supper last night. Here again we can see, Meister was not there at the time of supper. But he could see the movement in the brain and heart of Colonel Olcott. And he noticed that there is a great deal of disturbing condition inside. Fear not and doubt not. He understood that there was fear, there was doubt in the mind of Colonel Olcott. The first month of the coming year of your era will have hardly dawned when two more of the enemies will have passed away. Here again, this is a prediction before happening. Two more important persons. One of them was Swami Dayananda Saraswati. They were perhaps the stumbling blocks in those days of the theosophical movement. And therefore, this is a kind of relief for those who are heading the theosophical movement. And therefore, Master thought it fit to encourage the president founder of the Theosophical Society, but at the same time to forewarn him to be vigilant, jealous, and judicious. These were the qualities required to handle the situation at that time. For remember that the usefulness of the Theosophical Society largely depends upon your exertions, and that our blessings follow its suffering founders and all who help on their work. So here we see that masters have great confidence in Colonel Olcott. He says, usefulness of the Theosophical Society largely depends upon your exertions. Because he was devoted, dedicated. Master has described him that he was a person who spent nights without food, without bed, without any kind of comforts, surrounded by all discomforts. He did more than what he really could. And that confidence is seen in this sentence. And therefore, he has also assured him of the blessings to suffering founders. He says, suffering founders. He understands that it's not an easy task, a hard task. And it's not only one man show. The blessing is for all who help on their work, on the work of the founders. So though Colonel Olcott and Madame Blavatsky were at the forefront, their success largely depended upon their followers. So there we come to the end of letter number 16. Letter number 17 is just watch for the signal, prepare to follow the messenger who will come for you. So this is again a kind of warning as well as to be vigilant, to be expecting of what is going to come his way. That's why he says, prepare to follow the messenger. This messenger was John Kuhl. He had not reached the master's level in those days. He was just coming as a messenger of the master. So here there is a reference of Mr. Brown, as I mentioned earlier, whose level of intuition was to be judged by the master. Brown was in the Theosophical Society for some time, but later on, his initial enthusiasm dwindled and he left the TS. That account is also given in old diary leaves. So that's why Master is referring to him as a poor Brown who later left the society. This letter was received by, that was letter number 22, of course, that we are not considering today. So Brown had received a letter also later on the basis of which he published a pamphlet. And that pamphlet is available with Pandit Prananath of Gwalior. So there he has given detailed account of this visit of the Master, when along with Colonel Olcott, Brother Brown was also present. So that is just a brief account of letter number 17. And then we come to letter number 18. Master says, beyond asking you to tell that I have received all his letters, that of February 15th included, but have had not even a moment's time to give him. Here we can see that this writing of these letters, this correspondence with, say, AP Senate, AO Hume, HPB, Leadbeater, Annie Besant, and many others, many disciples also, was a small task considering the overall scope of work which they were handling in the whole administration from the higher levels. Even Theosophical Society, which was found with their inspiration and guidance, was also a responsibility which they had taken upon themselves, much against the wishes of the Great White Brotherhood. And therefore it was their personal responsibility to make it a success. Therefore, they were handling various aspects of the work. Master M and Master KH, I have nothing of the nature of a commission for you to execute in London. That, of course, is M's province. So here Master KH says that though hello?
No, you may continue.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. So here Master KH is referring to the situation at London Lodge. That time London Lodge was passing through a crisis. There were two groups. One was led by the president of the lodge, and another by Senate, AP Senate. So here they were almost severely opposed to each other. It was only on the verge of breakage, perhaps. Mrs. Kingsford was the president of the lodge, has in fact even criticized the masters. She was against the too much of reliance on the masters or frequent reference to them in the discussions. She considered it as exaggerated veneration for persons and personal authority. And she said that the veritable outcome of this is a mere servile hero worship. So you can see what was her whole attitude or approach to the masters and their work. So, Master here is referring that that was perhaps the area where Master M will look into. Because Master M was more concerned with teachings, theosophical teachings, while Master M with administration. And this is a question of administration of the London Lodge. And London Lodge seemed to be not very much in harmony with the parent society. And it would have repercussions on whole of Europe and even on the international organization. Therefore, he did not want to touch the area where perhaps Master M was directly involved. And that was also under the orders of the Mahachohan. That, of course, is M's province, and he has, under the orders of the Mahachohan, left you the widest discretion in the full knowledge that you will vindicate the policy of the society. So here again, the confidence which is reposed in Colonel Olcott is very clearly indicated that he will vindicate the policy of the society and will not allow any lodge or any other authority to deviate from the policy of the society and the object of the theosophical movement. If you will recall our conversation of the second night at Lahore, you will observe that everything has happened at London as foretold. So here again there is indirect evidence to the fact that to the masters and particularly to the Mahachohan, as it has been mentioned in the beginning, everything is like an open book. For them, there is no division of past, present, and future. Everything is open to them, and therefore they can see the trend of events and the ultimate outcome, not only in the immediate future, but even in distant future. And that we can see here, that what they had discussed at Lahore really happened at London. There have always been in that quarter latent potentialities of destruction as well as of a constructive nature. And the best interest of our movement required the bringing of all to the surface. So they believe not in suppressing undesirable things. It's a part of occult art to bring to the surface all, good as well as bad or evil. Because suppressing will not remove the cause. It will generate effects, if not now, later on. So we have to deal with the cause itself. And that cause is found in the potentialities which exist deep inside, not on the surface. Those potentialities may be of destructive nature or constructive nature, but they must be allowed to manifest on the surface. And that is considered as an occult art. And that is what probably they were experimenting in London Lodge also. Even though Mrs. Kingsford and AP Sinnett were heading two separate groups in the same lodge. One favoring the esoteric Buddhism and the other esoteric Christianity. And seeing from this kind of biased thinking in favor of one aspect of philosophy, they were not really able to reconcile things, arrive at the truth, get on with group holding different opinion, and that's why they were on the verge of breakage. As I said, the lodge may have split up if this would have continued longer. Therefore, masters encouraged open discussion, debate, hot debate, resulting into friction also. But keeping in mind the ultimate object of the discussion. So there this occult art of bringing the destructive tendencies to the surface and dissipating them, neutralizing them, was the object of the strategy employed. And therefore, it is not that we will find all lodges are ideal lodges, though that is our object. Ideal in the sense there should be unity, there should be harmony, there should be understanding, there should be cooperation. Then only something constructive could be achieved. That's why masters have that time even referred to the society and lodges in India, where they said in India also there are many cults in Hinduism itself, and members are following their own way of religious rites and traditions, but they come together on the same platform of theosophy, and without quarreling, without hating, respecting each other's point of view, the movement is going on smoothly. That was what they brought to the notice of the London Lodge. So that is how the masters were looking at the movement which was passing through turbulence at that particular phase. They say that do not be surprised at anything you may hear from Adyar, nor discouraged, because that time, condition in India was not happy, especially at the headquarters. You are aware of the Kulam affair, where missionaries made use of them and targeted HPB and the whole theosophical movement. Do not be surprised at anything you may hear from Adyar. So that time, things were such that anything could have happened. And as per the policy, things were not to be suppressed. Truth has to come out. And therefore, Colonel Olcott had also to suffer. There was a board of control which was delegated with the authorities to take a decision. The board of control was under the pressure of missionaries who were attacking from outside. So they say that you may have great domestic annoyance to pass through. This is what they had already anticipated. You have harbored a traitor and an enemy under your roof for years. He is referring to Kulams. At one time, they were friends of HPB. Not only friends, it was HPB who gave them the support in their bad days when they had no source of income and they were almost stranded, unsupported. So they were helped in Egypt, in Ceylon, and later on at Bombay, and finally at Adyar. But ingratitude, which resulted into all this affair. That's why they say you may have great domestic annoyances to pass through. You have harbored a traitor and an enemy under your roof for years. And missionary party are more than ready to avail of any help she may be induced to give. A regular conspiracy is on foot. So this is all they are foreseeing. This had not happened at that time. But the masters and the Mahachohan, for whom the whole thing is like an open book, these things were almost visible. And therefore, a regular conspiracy was on foot. She is maddened by the appearance of Mr. Lane Fox. Lane Fox, so the person representative of the Psychical Research Society. He was a young man, having not much of standing, but he was to investigate the matter. It was not an easy task to investigate and arrive at a finding. And surprisingly, he never met HPB and submitted his report. So all this is described in this sentence. She is maddened by the appearance of Mr. Lane Fox and the powers you have given to the board of control. So the democratic way in which they were expected to function proved fatal because they could not really work impartially under the external pressure of the missionaries, nor did they have that intuitional capacity to see the truth. We have been doing some phenomena at Adyar since HPB left India. Here again, though masters did not believe in these kind of things, in these extreme circumstances, they resorted to some kind of phenomena taking place, which would help or save the society from the deadly blow which was being given in those early years of the movement. The not only movement, but it was to protect HPV, to protect Upasika from the conspirations. Her health was not good, and more than that, the mental shock which she received for something which she never did, never dreamed of doing, and yet she was held guilty of it. And she was at that time proved guilty without any solid, convincing evidence. Of course, it is true that several decades thereafter, the Psychical Research Society came to the conclusion and held her non-guilty of any of the charges laid against her. But then it was perhaps too late. And now, act discreetly under your instructions, depending rather upon your notes than your memory. Here, the master is giving HSO a very good advice, considering his nature. He had at other place mentioned, Master, that you have a very mind which is not impressible, which is frequently changing its impressions. And therefore, you are subject to suspicion, doubt, and not able to arrive at the truth. Therefore, depend more on your spontaneous first response and be guided by that. Make note of that. And now act discreetly under your instructions, depending rather upon your notes than your memory, because his memory never remained fixed. It was modified from event to event, happening. Therefore, the first impressions which are indicative of the understanding of the intuition are more reliable. And therefore, the master says, depend on those notes made immediately and not on your memory, which is fluctuating time and again and which is not reliable. So that was perhaps the weakness of Colonel Olcott, which the master has brought to his notice for corrective action, and also how to develop intuition and how to depend upon that intuitive understanding than on the fluctuating memory. Hello?
Yeah, sir.
How much time is there?
You may take another 5 minutes or so that people might give their comments and questions, if any.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So here, Master, as I already mentioned about the impressibility, is changeful, and therefore he cannot rely upon the impressions which he formed based on his memory. Particularly at critical times, he was advised not to depend upon those impressions. The things were so brought to a focus to necessitate the present journey, the journey which that time Colonel Olcott was undertaking. That was because of those circumstances. And that time he was inspired to take that course of action. And the board of control also permitted that. So the councillors agreed to his from without, and internally he felt like proceeding on that journey. That time Master is advising him, put all needed restraint upon your feelings so that you may do the right thing in this Western imbroglio. Master had noticed that Colonel Olcott had that deficiency of a Western mind, which is more influenced by outer appearance and doesn't take much trouble to go deeper to the root and to find out the truth. That's why he says that you may do the right thing in this Western embargo, provided you put restraint upon your feelings. Don't get driven away by your feelings. Watch your first impressions. So one must be watchful to watch one's own emotions, feelings, and the tendency to get carried away or driven under the influence of those feelings. The mistakes you make spring from failure to do this. So this is how the Master has analyzed. Actually, this analysis for understanding of Mr. Olcott. Master need not analyze. Master sees it as a direct perception. How the brain and mind of Colonel Olcott was working at that time. He could clearly see. And for that, he did not have a personal visit. He can see it from anywhere, at any time. And that is what he had done it, even when he advised Colonel Olcott when he was on the deck of a steamer, while the Master was in Tibet. So reading the movements of the brain, mind, is an occult art which Masters possess. And if they need, they can utilize it. Only in exceptional cases. They don't use it for every small thing, because that requires again expenditure of great energy, which they want to utilize for human welfare, welfare of the greatest good of the greatest number. They mind the economy of the nature. They consider that energy which they spend is from the storehouse of the solar logos. And they are only representatives of the logos. So it should be used with great care and with conservancy. That's why they have also asked Colonel Olcott, while performing his duty, let neither your personal predilections, affections, suspicions, nor antipathies affect your action. So this is the analysis which they have made for understanding of Colonel Olcott. What are the factors which are affecting his understanding and judgment? And finally, the action or opinions which he is forming, especially about Madame Blavatsky. He had great suspicions about her ability, though earlier he had considered her as infallible. But later on, he changed his understanding of herself. And that is because of the various kind of emotional disturbances which were affecting him. His predilections, his affections, his suspicions, his antipathies. So each of these need to be observed and their effects noticed and corrective action taken. But for that, one has to observe his first immediate impression. I think here I stop, and now it is open for discussion as well as perhaps translation in Hindi by Meenakshi Gaidhani.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
It was interesting to listen to this wonderful topic. When you say without fear, without doubt, and having basic regards of Master's energy not getting wasted on petty things. So with that high regards, I really thank you for such a wonderful topic and explaining it so well. So if Meenakshi is available for translation, over to you, ma'am. You could do it quickly, please.
Namaste. Thank you, sister. Thank you, brother Tendulkar.
Thank you, ma'am.
आज हम लेटर्स ऑफ पर्सनल काउंसिल में से मास्टर के एच कर्नल ऑलकॉट को जो पत्र लिखते हैं उसमें से ये पत्र लेते हैं। लेटर नंबर 16, यह पत्र मास्टर के एच कर्नल ऑलकॉट को 20 नवंबर 1883 को लिखते हैं। मास्टर के एच द्वारा स्वयं रचित यह पत्र है जब वे लाहौर में कर्नल ऑलकॉट से मिलते हैं। मास्टर कहते हैं, मैं आपके पास अपनी मर्जी से और इच्छा से नहीं आया, बल्कि यह महाचौहान का भी आदेश था, जिनकी अंतर्दृष्टि में भविष्य एक खुली किताब की तरह है। न्यूयॉर्क में आपने मास्टर एम से वस्तुगत प्रमाण की मांग की थी कि कहीं उनकी आपसे मुलाकात कोई माया तो नहीं थी, और उन्होंने आपने बिना पूछे प्रमाण दे दिया। मैं आपको यह चिट्ठी दे रहा हूँ, यद्यपि मैं आपकी दृष्टि से ओझल हो जाऊं, यह पत्री आपको हमारी मुलाकात की याद दिलाएगी। अब मैं युवा मिस्टर ब्राउन के पास उनकी इंट्यूशन को परखने के लिए जाता हूँ। कल रात जब शिविर शांत हो जाएगा और आपके श्रोताओं के बुरे से बुरे उत्सर्जन निकल चुके होंगे, तब मैं आपके पास पुनः एक लंबे वार्तालाप के लिए आऊंगा, क्योंकि आपको भविष्य में कुछ चीजों के प्रति आगाह किया जाना चाहिए। डरे नहीं और संदेह न करें, जैसे कि आपने कल रात के भोजन के समय किया था। आपके कार्यकाल में आने वाले वर्ष का पहला महीना शुरू होते होते आपके दो और शत्रु गुजर चुके होंगे। हमेशा सतर्क रहे, उत्साही रहे और विवेकशील रहे। यह याद रखे कि थियोसॉफिकल सोसाइटी की सार्थकता काफी हद तक आपके परिश्रम पर निर्भर करती है और हमारे आशीर्वाद इसके पीड़ित संस्थापकों पर और उनके कार्य में सहायता करने वालों पर है। आगे के लेटर में मास्टर के एच कर्नल ऑलकॉट से कहते हैं, संकेत के लिए देखें, उस मैसेंजर का पालन करने के लिए तैयार रहे जो आपसे मिलने आएगा। और ये मैसेंजर थे मास्टर ज्वालपुर। लेटर नंबर 18 में मास्टर कहते हैं कि आपको लंदन में करने के लिए कोई आदेश नहीं है। बेशक लंदन मास्टर एम का कार्यक्षेत्र है और उन्होंने महाचौहान के आदेशानुसार सोसाइटी की नीति को सही करने आपको अपनी विवेक बुद्धि पर छोड़ा है। यदि आप लाहौर में दूसरी रात की हमारी बातचीत को याद करेंगे, तब आप जानेंगे कि लंदन में सब कुछ पूर्व कथन के अनुसार हुआ है। उस क्षेत्र में, उस जगह में हमेशा घातकता यानी विनाशकता और साथ ही हितकारिता सुप्त रूप में है और हमारे आंदोलन के सर्वोत्तम हितों के लिए सभी को उजागर करने की आवश्यकता है। जो लोग लंदन लॉज के संबंध में हमारी नीति से इतने हैरान है और संभ्रमित है, वे इसकी आवश्यकता को तब अच्छी तरह से समझेंगे जब वे गुप्त विद्या में नवसाधकों में अंतर्निहित क्षमताओं और प्रवृत्तियों को उजागर करने की गुप्त कला से अच्छी तरह परिचित होंगे। आगे मास्टर कहते हैं, अड्यार की किसी भी खबर से आप हैरान न हो, न ही हताश हो। हालांकि हम इसे कर्म की सीमा के अंतर्गत रोकने की कोशिश करेंगे, लेकिन यह संभव है कि आपको बहुत बड़े आंतरिक कलह से गुजरना होगा। आपने सालों से एक गद्दार और शत्रु को पनाह दी है और उससे यानी एमा कोलम से किसी भी तरह की मदद की लाभ उठाने के लिए मिशनरी पार्टी तैयार है। मिस्टर लेन फॉक्स के आने से और बोर्ड ऑफ कंट्रोल को आपने दिए हुए अधिकारों से वह उन्मत्त हो गई है। एचपीबी के भारत छोड़ने के बाद उपासिका यानी एचपीबी षड्यंत्रकारियों से बचाने के लिए हम कुछ घटनाएं यानी फिनोमिना कर रहे हैं और अब अपनी याददाश्त के बजाय अपने नोट्स पर निर्भर करते हुए अपने निर्देशों के तहत विचार पूर्वक कार्य करें। लेटर नंबर 19 में मास्टर के एच कहते हैं, जैसे कि आप लंदन की ओर बढ़ रहे हैं, मुझे फिर से आपसे कुछ कहना है। आपका व्यक्तिमत्व इतना अस्थिर है कि इस विकट समय में मुझे इस पर संपूर्णतः निर्भर नहीं होना चाहिए। अपनी भावनाओं पर जरूरी संयम रखें ताकि आप इस पश्चिमी उलझन में सही तरह से कार्य कर सके। आपकी धारणाओं पर गौर करें। ऐसा करने में विफल होने पर आप गलतियां करते हैं। आपकी व्यक्तिगत पसंद, स्नेह, संदेह या विरोध भाव से आपके कार्यों को प्रभावित न करें। थैंक यू। नमस्ते।
Thank you, Meenakshi ji, and thank you, brother Tendulkar. And I think it's time. It's already over. The time is over. But however, if somebody wants to, have any questions to put and or any brief comment on this study, we will only spend 2 minutes. So either 1 or 2 questions or any brief comments. Brother Tendulkar, if you have to unmute yourself, I had put you on mute. Yep. You have to unmute yourself. Your mic is still off.
Brother Subralina, can I speak?
Yeah, you can. May I know who's speaking? I have to locate you actually.
Debashis Patnaik from.
Yeah, are you on video, sir?
I'm no, I have switched off my video.
Okay, if you want to come on video, I'll add you in spotlight. You may speak,
Give me 1 minute.
please. You have to make it very brief, huh?
Yeah.
You can start speaking while you're doing your video on. Yeah.
So now you're able to see.
Yes,
No,
please.
just a little observation. So we are, as members of Theosophical Society, we have read a few of this, and we do understand a little. So in that context, Brother Tendulkar's exposition, reading, understanding, and the transmission process to us has been excellent, no doubt about that. And with his experience and the manner, the power, the bhakti with which he speaks, the literary gems of the society's writings is wonderful. And we need these intermittent discussions. Of course, I'm not able to attend many of those because of other engagements. So this has been helpful to that extent. And even Brother Meenakshi's Hindi translation of that is also spot on for people who would have difficulty in understanding the English language. Just one question, which is there always, as people are asking, so I'm feeling free to express it also, and there would be answers also if you have the time. Brother Tendulkar can answer, you can answer, Meenakshi ji can answer.
Let us try to.
Yeah. The idea is the Theosophical Society was started with certain objectives, certain ideals. Madam Blavatsky, Colonel Olcott had a lot of difficulty in finding the right people with the blessings of the masters. The masters have been interacting off and on across different places. And of course, the Theosophical writings pervades beyond the limitations of time and space. No doubts in our minds. The point is, when we are speaking of a piece of gem writing 100 years later, 140 years later, how do we enable the understanding to other listeners who may not have been into the theosophical literature, how relevant it would be a master's observations and the interactions with the members? What is the nature of the mind that would be necessary to absorb these writings, and for what purpose? So it cannot be done in a day. So in a lecture, in the context of the basic tenets and the contents of theosophical teachings, say for example, we know the various types of bodies, the etheric body, the astral body, the mental body, etc. And what these teachings, these writings do to us when we listen to this. So when we are discussing this, the question that comes, which all knowledge would start from self-knowledge, etc. Does it enable, help in breaking away the barriers, the blockages in my mind? So for that, we need a little extra discussion from the speakers and others also as to how do we make it relevant. Say, for example, Master showing himself coming to a London lodge or in a Lahore lodge. Now, once a word like that is spoken in the context of esoteric literature, the place itself gets universalized because the master himself being a point of energy, a bundle of energy, the very word means that it is there to be spread to us. Somehow we need to bring that approach to our discussions. It may be there in the individual, no doubt about that.
We would definitely need a discussion on that. What I understand from your...
1 second. Why I will say this? Because the Theosophical Society, when it was broken up, or we have 3-4 streams, There is a uniqueness in the Theosophical Society as it was established in Adyar and Madame Blavatsky's stream. That is quite different from the intellectual stream of the Pasadena Lodge, for example. So it is that stream, that energy, which we should not miss when we are so deeply engrossed in understanding of the words. That's all I will say.
Yeah, so but you put a question too. If I go back to your detailed whatever you spoke, you raised a question that absorbing these events or absorbing the facts, what kind of a mind somebody needs to have. If I'm correct, this is what you wanted to ask.
It would be like, how do we transmit the words beyond the limitations of time and space? That is the proper question.
Yeah. So, Brother Tendulkar, do you have an answer of this, or should we take it up as a discussion later?
Yeah, I can take it up next time, but I can just mention here that if we see these two persons together, HPV and HSO, then we can see the difference, which is perhaps the underlying factor to understand some of the things which pose a challenge before us to relate these past events 100 or 150 years back to the present situation when the world has undergone a lot of change. Science has advanced, lifestyle has changed. Many countries who were politically under foreign rule have become independent. Democracies have spread. So there is a lot of change which has taken place. And this change has come partly perhaps due to the new thinking, especially the freedom of thought and the ideas of that, or the other ideas which will take the humanity forward. So those ideas will remain there perhaps for not only few hundred, but perhaps few thousands of years, when the humanity has to overcome many of the shortcomings or limitations which we are facing. Even the president founder, Colonel Olcott, himself had so many limitations. So we can perhaps appreciate this teaching, theosophical teachings, which tell us about the evolution of the humanity as a whole. Tell us about where we stand today and how we have to treat the spiritual path for unfolding of our potentials and capacities, which are partly explored. I think these events point perhaps in that direction, because the Theosophical Society itself was founded as a preparatory ground for the evolution of the sixth subroot race, which was predicted to come after about 700 years. So it's a long-term plan for which we are preparing now. We have already passed 150 years, but still another 550 years, so many changes are going to come. Humanity will pass through many more events, which will perhaps definitely take us forward if the ideas which the masters, for whom the whole process is like an open book, perhaps they are able to see what will be the state of humanity after 700 years. We have perhaps to analyze whether whatever we have achieved during last 150 years really has any direction, a definite direction in which we are moving. Are we really progressing towards perfection, as we say in golden stairs? So at least this provides us as a food for thought to think where we are leading to.
Right.
I think I can perhaps talk a little bit in detail on next Friday, when we will be considering letter number 19 in detail. Thank you, Brother Patnaik, and also Suralina.
Thanks, Brother Patnaik, for this beautiful question. Yes, it is a question to ponder. So in our next session, when you take up the part 2, maybe you can slightly touch upon this question itself, and in this context, you can explain. And it was really nice. This question really gave us a food for thought. At least we should raise this question.
Yeah.
Where are we moving? I mean, on this journey, spiritually, humanity at large is at what stage? That is a question mark. We all should answer. Okay.
Exactly.
Thank you so much for this beautiful question, and thanks for all the explanation you did, Brother Tendulkar. Thanks, Meenakshi ji. I think we should end the session with our closing prayer, and we all will meet again for this session on next Friday. However, tomorrow we have another Saturday sessions. You all are welcome to join the same link tomorrow 7:30. So we will end up with this closing prayer.
Thank you.
Sarve bhavantu sukhina, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschit dukkha bhag bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you all for joining, and see you all again tomorrow on this Zoom link. Shikhar will moderate the session, and we will again keep on doing every Friday and Saturday. Thank you all. Good night, all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you and good night.